The Bitcoin Group, the American original. For over the last 10 seconds, the sharpest Satoshis, the best Bitcoins, the hardest cryptocurrency talk. We'd like to welcome our panelists, Jimmy Song, Bitcoin developer.
Hi, everybody. Good to be here again.
Jeffrey Jones from the Bitcoin News Show.
Hello and welcome, people.
Theo Goodman from Haas Online.
Hello, everyone.
Tone Vase from Liberty Life Trail.
Hey, guys.
From the World Crypto Network. Moving on to issue 1. Be sure to give us a thumbs up and a share. If it's your first time here, subscribe down below. The price of Bitcoin is $36.30 after a rebound from $29.72. Issue 1. Bitcoin price plunges. It was predicted all week, and it finally happened. Chinese exchange BTCC preemptively shut down ahead of the news that China is likely to ask Huobi and OKCoin to shut down as well. For the Chinese people to buy Bitcoin on the open market, no doubt leading to the creation of a vast black market which will both be uncontrollable and untaxable. What started out as an attempt to control ICOs has become a full-fledged crackdown. Naturally, this has caused a major depression of the Bitcoin price, collapsing it all the way down to 2,900 before it just rebounded to 3,700. Jimmy Song, is this the end of Bitcoin? Will the Chinese ban create a domino effect, wiping Bitcoin out permanently?
Oh, it's definitely not the end of Bitcoin. Even if several governments banned it, I don't think it would ever be the end of Bitcoin. As much as I would be glad to be rid of the People's Bank of China being an influence on Bitcoin, I suspect that this is sort of a temporary thing. We do know that a lot of these exchanges had no proper licensing, and neither did the ICOs. I believe that what the Chinese government wants to do is to impose some sort of license. A lot of these exchanges will shut down in the next month or two. They'll review it, and then they'll release some sort of licensing procedure over the next few months. There will be sort of latent demand. And so, you know, all these exchanges will try to get in first, be the first to get a license. And as a result, there will be a lot of bribes paid out to these Chinese bureaucrats. You know, the government wants its share. So I think that's what is going to happen. Authoritarianism and Bitcoin don't generally mix that well, in part because there are other venues to go and get your Bitcoin. So I imagine local Bitcoin's volume is once again going to go up tremendously on Bitcoin in China. And even more significant volumes in Korea and Japan, probably Bitfinex as well. You know, that they're, I think, based in Hong Kong. So, yeah, all of these things are going to keep happening. You know, I think the market's reacting well, largely because we now have certainty on what's happening. So, in many ways, it's a good thing. But yeah, I would love to see the People's Bank of China finally just stop having influence, but I suspect that's not the case.
Jeffrey Jones.
Yeah, no, I don't think Bitcoin is dead at all in the slightest. As you know, Jimmy alluded to, China is currently concerned with ICOs much more than Bitcoin. They don't want to ban Bitcoin. You know, if they wanted to ban Bitcoin, they would have done so already. We're 9 years into this experiment here. And so they simply, as Jimmy said, kind of want their cut, right? So they want to be able to use their authoritative regime to go in and start taking control over these exchanges. Now, that's going to temporarily lower the volume in China. But look, China isn't a big player in Bitcoin anymore as far as volume goes. I mean, remember, they used to be over 80% of the volume. And then when the PBOC regulated it next, or previously regulated it, they killed all of that fake volume. They killed it all. And so now we see that it's 15%, and that allowed places like Korea and South Korea and Japan to pick up that slack, and the rest of the world is going to join in soon enough. You know, this is the way of Bitcoin. As you guys said in the show this morning, the economics have not changed of Bitcoin. There's still only 21 million. We're still going to have that halving in 2020. So we can see from this huge bounce that just happened. I mean, we're talking $400 or $500, $600 bounce, right? We went down to 28 and now it's like over 36. This bounce just shows how many people are still believing in Bitcoin, how much volume there really still is out there. I mean, there's a lot of people holding, and has already climbed over 300% this year. So I'm not worried at all in the slightest about Bitcoin. Really all we need to get through is just this regulatory hurdles. Like we've already seen this happen in the US, right? We got regulated, we got the exchanges got licenses, and then here we are with Coinbase, who does, you know, tons and tons of millions of dollars in volume, right? So what's going to happen is they're going to get licensed, the volume is going to come back, and it'll be another day in Bitcoin. So this is just another day in Bitcoin, and all you got to do is hodl, people, hodl tight.
Theo Goodman.
It's clearly the end for Bitcoin. Everyone, you know, it's the final death blow as we've been waiting for. And, you know, Simon Dixon is probably right. And he's just, you know, been proven right here. But really, as we talked to, sorry, not Simon Dixon. Anyway, the guy that said, we talked to Simon Dixon earlier, so I slipped up, sorry. As we talked to Simon Dixon earlier, there is not a criteria yet for them to reopen, but it does look like kind of like what Jimmy was saying, is that, you know, they're going to want to figure out, they're going to shut them down, however, maybe audit them, figure out, you know, the users, how they get their funds, and then maybe reopen them. We don't know when that happens, but, you know, that doesn't change. I mean, if you're into Bitcoin anyway, it doesn't really change a whole lot. You know, there's still 21 million, going to be 21 million. Still everything else, and also more people. Also, with the bad news, more people hear about Bitcoin like that too. You know, Bitcoin ban. That's a great headline. People read that and they learn about Bitcoin, and then, you know, the cat's out of the hat basically. So I don't. You know, I guess that at this point I'm pretty neutral with all the China ban news after all the, you know, the years of it. So it's just another China ban news event. And yeah, the price really did some dip and rip today, and let's see what happens further.
All right, Tone Vase.
All right, let's do a quick look at the price, and then I'll talk about general commentary. I don't have all my charts, just a couple. This is the 4-hour chart, and from what I'm hearing, this has been like the best 4 hours gain in the price of Bitcoin we've ever had. In numerical terms, I'm sure not in percentage terms. And the rebound came just under 3,000, which actually makes, I mean, I can't scroll back too far because this is just a 4-hour chart, but this was one of my points for a possible major rebound, because this is where the previous high was. When prices start to drop, they tend to find bottoms where the previous highs were. I'll try and get my show out soon and maybe tweet out a couple of more charts. So on the 4-hour chart, there really was no indication here for a potential buy point today. Now on the 1-hour chart, there was an awesome buy signal right here. It was coming off this doji, and you had this low breaking 3,000, just like we we hit the top just below 5,000. We hit the bottom just under 3,000, where people don't really expect it. So this was actually a perfect reversal. It almost made it to one of my 9s, but at first this candle was a 9, telling me to buy at least, and enough people bought, and we just ripped to the upside. I actually do think the bottom is in. I do not think this is a dead cat bounce that's going to take us down. Right now, the most likely outcome is back to the top, and the most important thing telling me that you had 1 hour to hit the low. Not even an hour. You had less than an hour to hit the low. The price was only below 3,000 for a total of 20 minutes. And if you slept through it, or you went to make a sandwich, you could not have caught the low, and you never even came close to a second shot at the low. Now, the reality of the situation is, if we come back down to 3,000, it becomes very scary, to where we're probably going to drop a lot, and it'll go significantly lower. So in reality, your new support point is around 3,400, this prior high. If it falls, your 3,400, this area here becomes your new buy point. to get you back to 4,000 and above. So let's hope we get there. Now, quick commentary on China. I still continue to battle libertarians because I agreed with Chinese government when they came in and cleaned up the volume. I then agreed with the Chinese government when they came in and tried to clean up ICOs. And now they're trying to, take their authority over the Bitcoin exchanges. And everyone is saying, see, are you happy now? Well, I don't care, right? Like, U.S. government banned exchanges in 2013 and 14. Trade Hill closed. Charlie went to prison. Like, we've been through this before. Then Coinbase came out saying, okay, we're not going to be, we're not an exchange. We're just going to KYC everyone. We'll buy Bitcoin from them. We'll sell Bitcoin to them. And then slowly there was licensing and they got the exchanges. Now, do I really want licensing? Well, from what I've seen libertarians trying to police themselves, yes. At this point, yes. China was looking at all the scams ICOs just like us, and they said enough of this. And yeah, the exchanges have gotten big. They want their cut. And what are you guys thinking? Did you really think that, like, you talk about Bitcoin as this disruptive technology that's going to destroy the banks and destroy the governments, and then you're upset that they come after Bitcoin? Like, this is what I've been ready for since the moment I bought my first Satoshi. I've always been under the impression that Bitcoin is going to be the new drug war. A holder of Bitcoin will be a criminal. This is the impression that I was living under. If you're the one that thinks that the government is just going to sit back and let you run your Bitcoin operation without giving you a hard time, who's the delusional in this equation? Nothing has changed. Bitcoin remains this force against the government. And let's see what we can do.
All right, moving on to the exit question. The price of Bitcoin this time next week, higher or lower? Have we seen the bottom? Jimmy Song.
We've seen the bottom. I think it goes higher.
Yeah, you didn't call on me, Thomas. Oh, I guess they're frozen. But I'll just go next. Yeah, the price of Bitcoin, in my opinion, is definitely going to be higher next week. We've seen the bottom, and I think Tone will agree as well.
Theo Goodman.
3888.
All right, Tone Vase.
Yeah, I think next week will be a little bit higher. I think we'll be back above 4,000 late sometime. Maybe not next week, but definitely the week after.
All right, and I think higher as well. Moving on to issue 2. Issue 2, Jamie Dimon. The traditional banking industry also set its sights on Bitcoin this week, with JP Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon ranting and raving against the fledgling cryptocurrency, using every insult in the book, including calling Bitcoin a fraud, worse than the tulip bulbs, used only by drug dealers and murderers. Dimon then predicted ominously that this wasn't going to end well. Jeffrey Jones, is Dimon right? Scam, a fraud, worthless tulips used only by drug dealers and murderers that will not end well.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. People keep using this tulip analogy, but yet the problem with that is that tulips crashed and never came back. Bitcoin has come back time and again, time and over and over. It just does not die. In fact, I believe there is over 160 obituaries at this point on Bitcoin Obituaries, the website. So I think it's definitely pretty crazy to call this thing fraudulent at this point. I mean, I'm sure I can understand, okay, 2011-ish, right? It's on Silk Road is all the rage, and maybe like, you know what, this maybe doesn't sound good. But if you understand the economics of Bitcoin and you understand the basics of Bitcoin, you can definitely see that there is nothing fraudulent about this. And it's so far ridiculous that Jamie Dimon's own CIO of one of his major companies called him out on Twitter, telling him to shut the hell up, literally telling him he's freaking crazy, because this is just ridiculous to say that Bitcoin is fraudulent. Hey, you want to call it a bubble? Fine, whatever. But we've had 4 or 5 bubbles already, and we're going to have a whole hell of a lot more before this thing is said and done. But just don't call it fraudulent, because I mean, everybody spoke out against him. He was literally his own meme pretty much on Twitter after he said that, because everybody kind of just jumped out and said, look, you're freaking crazy, dude. This is not how it is. So Bitcoin, it's got a lot more upside, it's got a lot more potential. We're still early days. I try to stress this on my show all the time, that this is early days. And we got a lot more people like Jamie Dimon to convince. But at the end of the day, everybody knows that Bitcoin is a honey badger and doesn't freaking care what Jamie Dimon thinks. It doesn't even apparently care what China thinks. We're already back over 3,600. So, you know, I just have to say one more last point to agree with Tone. I've been agreeing with Tone more and more on his points about how, you know, we need to actually regulate exchanges and not people, right? Get rid of the KYC and just freaking regulate the exchanges, because that is where all the money is being held and represented. In a situation like that, you need to freaking have some kind of regulation. But, you know, people like Jamie Dimon, they're just going to continue to badmouth Bitcoin, because obviously their business model gets absolutely destroyed by Bitcoin, and this is going to cause some pain. And the rest of the people like us, all the hodlers, you know, we're just going to ride this wave all the way up and laugh all the way to our Bitcoin wallet.
It's a real shame when new technology destroys old business models. I'm not even sure what time it is in the States, but if everyone could give us a thumbs up and a share, that'll help more people find the show. Thank you to our 532 live viewers. Now, Theo Goodman, what do you think about Jamie Dimon?
I think Jamie Dimon, he must just not like the way that tulips look. Maybe he likes roses or dandelions or another flower, and that's fine. That's subjective. Now, with a lot of the other things, he's right, and that's good. And that's what gives one reason Bitcoin is valuable. Yes, it can be used by drug dealers and is used by, it could be used by murderers, who knows? I mean, US dollar can be used by murderers too. Anyone can use it. That the price is not going to end well. Well, that is really a good vague price prediction that can never be wrong, because it could end well, not end well for a lot of people. Bitcoin is a scam. No, but it does equal the playing field in the sense that it makes it easier for anyone to run a scam, a lot easier. So now you don't have to be in an office or have a lot of know-how to run a scam now. So that's not, and it makes it easier to run fraud. So basically, I would agree with some of his points. I just come to the opposite conclusion.
Exactly, Theo. All the old scams are new again. Tone Vase, what do you think?
All right, so let me talk about my former CEO here for a minute. Okay, so I'm not gonna, obviously, we all know that Bitcoin is not a scam, but I'm not gonna like debate Jamie Dimon on Bitcoin. I will just, you know, explain it from his point of view. So let's begin with the fact that he's the CEO of one of the biggest companies in the world. He's a pretty busy man. It's not like he can sit down and watch the World Crypto Network, okay? It's not like he's reading like actually good articles about crypto. He's not really paying attention. Like, this is not really on his radar. So expecting people in those positions to accurately speak about the new technology that they're not involved in is not gonna, I mean, he's not an expert in this. You know, he's an expert at running a bank. Also, right now, he's pitching for his next job. His next job will most likely be replacing Janet Yellen to run the Federal Reserve, or potentially being the Treasury Secretary. So he can't exactly come out and be open to Bitcoin, which is actually more of a threat to the US, to the government currency, than it is to the banking system. The banking system can still perform the same function with Bitcoin. Look at Coinbase. They're not really doing a good job, but they are pretty much a Bitcoin bank. So the business of banking is not really threatened by Bitcoin. It's the currency itself. Clearly, people still need banking. So you have to take it from those perspectives. I mean, he's just defending and his own future and like the legacy of the US dollar that made him rich. So he's got his own reasons for saying it. Whether he's right or not is obviously, we know he's not, but there are reasons for him to say that. I mean, I don't really, I disagree with him, but I didn't really think this was a big deal.
I've heard Jamie Dimon's daughter is the real brains of the family. She started buying Bitcoin all on her own.
There's more than one daughter. Just to be, so guys, let's not harass people's daughters just because they like Bitcoin. Just like, you know, I don't know, just
include her in all of your memes. Don't
please.
mind. Yeah. And of course, Jamie would be helped if he watched the World Crypto Network. Jimmy Song, I've got some stock in the tulip farm. Could I interest you?
Well, I mean, Jamie Dimon has successfully entered the ranks of Professor Bitcoin and Paul Krugman in criticizing Bitcoin. So congrats to him. I guess if he likes those guys, then he's in good company. And, you know, I mean, he joins a long list of people that have been wrong, and you know, he's relying on people appealing to his own authority, something like that. And like Tone was implying, the people that are in authority often don't know many of the details, which is often why we get a lot of bad bills from Congress and stuff like that. They don't know what the hell's going on, right? They just sort of tells them. I mean, we don't really need to convince Jamie Dimon. Like, I don't know why this is a story. I half suspect that like most revolutions, we're just gonna have to kind of wait for him to die. And that will be how we convince people like him, is his voice just isn't going to be around anymore. I really wish he would provide arguments based on reality. At least the trolls on Twitter and our BTC or our Bitcoin, most of them at least have some argument. They're not just sort of like straw man argument like Jamie Dimon is. It's not very interesting. It's kind of like arguing with a child for me. I mean, that's kind of what he is in regard to Bitcoin. He's just sort of like throwing a tantrum about something or other. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know. It doesn't interest me very much, so I don't have much to say about it.
Moving on to the exit question. It's covered up. Exit question: how long will it take for the market cap of Bitcoin to be greater than the value of the JP Morgan Chase company, including their customer deposits? Right now, Bitcoin's around 170 billion, JP Morgan Chase around 320 billion. Jeffrey Jones.
It's really not going to take very long. And though you did say 170 billion, Thomas, that is, of course, for the entire crypto market, not just Bitcoin. But still, even just Bitcoin, I absolutely believe we'll take over that market cap by 2020 easily. I mean, this is just an empty asset. This is a brand new asset class with nowhere to go but up. It is absolutely empty. So there is so much upside, so much room, and so much potential that, in my opinion, I mean, this could take it over as early as next year. But absolutely by 2020, by the time the next halving happens in 2020, and people are going to start talking about this a lot more next year as we get closer. But by the time the halving happens, I mean, holy crap, it's over. The regular people won't even be able to afford an entire coin. So the economy will be absolutely fleshed out at that point. It's just it's pretty much over by 2020, and probably Jamie Dimon's career as well.
Theo Goodman. There we go. When will Bitcoin price pass JP Morgan Chase?
Years, 8 months, and 8 days.
Tone Vase.
I'm pretty sure going into next decade, Bitcoin would be way higher than JP Morgan Chase's market cap.
Jimmy Song.
5 years, and we'll be looking at 5,000 as like an insanely cheap price.
The answer is 2 years, 3 days, and 4 hours. Moving on to issue 3, NO2X. Last weekend at the Breaking Bitcoin conference in Paris, Jimmy Song hosted a mining panel featuring representatives from Bitfury and other signatories of the New York Agreement, aka SegWit2X. During this panel, they revealed some dramatic information that we will now relate to you. When the 2X agreement was made, it was said that if there is one chain, the miners would be forced by the agreement to mine the new SegWit2X chain. However, if it was going to be contentious, that being said, if there was more than one or perhaps two chains, such as the current situation with the Bcash split, the miners are not bound by the 2X agreement. The 2X agreement is not a suicide pact. If there are two chains, the miners can choose which chain to mine. Theo Goodman, will the miners back out? Will there be no 2X hard fork?
It doesn't sound like there's going to be a 2X hard fork. I don't know. I mean, the miners will just go. The question is if they're going to do the 2X fork. That seems like pretty much off the table at this point. Who knows what the future is, but it's not going to be part of the so-called 2X agreement, it looks like at this point.
Jimmy Song.
Well, so I'm not really sure what's going on. I do get the sense that there's a lot of sort of ambiguity around this issue. It would only take one miner to cause a hard fork. So it's really hard to say whether or not it'll happen. It would require sort of consensus in order to not have a 2x hard fork, just as much as it would, in order to have a single chain after a hard fork as well. So it's fairly clear to me, at least talking to some of the mining panelists sort of afterwards, that a lot of miners are sort of looking for an excuse, and this might be a very good excuse. It's, hey, you got Barry, you promised us one chain after the 2x hard fork. If we don't have it, then you kind of broke your promise. So I don't know. This might be it. But one thing to think about: where are all these miners going to sell their coins, right? I guess they could do OTC trades, which are still legal in China. But this may cause them to be a little bit more price sensitive than they were, because people, because there's no exchanges for a lot of these foreign remittance miners and sort of funding them and getting Bitcoin that way in order to send abroad or whatever. This might end up changing the equation just a little bit.
All right, we know, Jimmy Song, you have to leave soon. Do you have any thoughts on the World Crypto Network going global, or any kind of prediction or story of the week? Go ahead, Jimmy.
Well, my story of the week is the programming blockchain seminar that I ran last week in Austin, another one in LA. It's a 2-day, very intense seminar. I actually showed the slides to a core developer this past week, and he was like, wow, I'm not sure I know all this stuff. Maybe I need to take this class. So very, very intense, very thorough explanation of Bitcoin and its inner workings. It's my vision to supply the ecosystem with more developers so we can be immunized against more attacks. I want to ask World Crypto Network to go visit Switzerland, because I think that country is absolutely beautiful. I think that's where you should go next. But yeah, that's thank you for having me at the programming blockchain seminar in LA. And although it's not announced yet, I will have the same seminar in San Francisco before the Scaling Bitcoin conference as sort of that week.
Also, Jimmy, we have a question from the audience. What did you think of JJ's reveal of the core bleed bug? Should vulnerabilities be disclosed, or should they wait until after the patch has been released?
Yeah, so I talked about this a little bit on my show Off Chain earlier this week, but I mean, it's a tricky situation, because it sort of assumes like a common ethical standard, which I don't, to my knowledge, JJ never signed anything that said, hey, I'm going to do this, and this way. I mean, you can condemn him if he did indeed tell Elizabeth Stark that he wasn't going to give that talk and then went ahead and did, in which case that's just clearly lying, and I think that everyone can agree that's kind of bad. But I mean, assuming it's some sort of miscommunication or something like that, my view is that you don't want to discourage people from disclosing bugs, because if you put too many conditions on his like revealing something, then the next guy that has an exploit, they're just not going to reveal it. And you want responsible disclosure. I think he did 80–90% of the way there. He told Peter Wolla, he told all these other people of all these other things, that he was going to he had this exploit and that they had time to go fix it. Should he have waited? Probably. But I don't know. Like to some degree, I'm happier that he did the responsible thing and revealed it to the right people before disclosing it. But I can't find myself like condemning him too much for revealing something that he disclosed to the relevant people beforehand. So I mean, yeah.
Hey, Jimmy, quick thing. You said that he's the one that revealed it to the core developers like Peter Wolla, but I heard I heard that Peter Wolla had already found this himself like a month or 2 months earlier and had already been working on a solution or had it fixed. Can you clear that up? Do you know anything about that? Who's right? Because those are two very contradictory views.
Yeah, so from what I heard, Peter Wolla was working on this because it's just a very good general database optimization. Actually, John Newberry wrote on Bitcoin Tech Talk this morning about like some of the 0.15 features. I think yesterday's article had the per TX output database optimization. That's something that like people have been wanting for a long time. It just so happens that that also fixes this thing. And you know, I mean, people have wanted this for a few years actually. So it's not that he found this exploit. He just sort of, everyone in the community knew this would be a good thing to do, because it reduces memory, memory requirements of running a full node.
Oh, so it's not one of those things. SegWit accidentally got rid of ASIC boost. So this is like the same kind of thing. He was already optimizing something.
And this is exactly what I was saying during JJ's presentation was, hey, oh, it's a good thing that, you know, like Peter Woola had put this in. I had been talking to John Newberry like before, about the series of articles. We had planned it right after 0.15.0 came out. So I had known about this optimization. And as he was saying it, I was like, oh yeah, that the 0.15.0 would definitely fix this. It's a good thing it's almost out already. But yeah, it's one of those things where if you just coded it slightly differently, it's not a vulnerability at all. So he just happened to find a way to sort of maximize the memory usage in that particular use case. And obviously it costs a lot of money to do, because you need like these enormous transactions with a lot of outputs. And then you need this giant transaction with a lot of the same, using an input from lots of these different transactions. And that's how you get the vulnerability. But it requires so much block space and so much fees that it's relatively difficult. It's very, very difficult on Bitcoin. It's even kind of difficult on Bitcoin Cash, because miners are going to start getting suspicious as soon as they see like the 100th 100 kilobyte transaction. So yeah, that's my thought on it. I really have to go, guys. Thanks for having me.
All right, thank you so much, Jimmy, for being on the show. We appreciate you very much. And just to the rest of the audience, we're up to 626 live viewers. If everyone could give us a thumbs up, that's how YouTube recommends the video to other viewers. So it could help us get some more. Tone Vase, what are your thoughts on the NO2X hard fork and the conference?
Well, I really wish I was at the conference. I was in Zurich, however, almost during that entire time, which is where Jimmy wants to go next. And I strongly recommend that, but we will talk about that right after. So my view on it, I was always under the impression that 2x wasn't going to happen, especially once Bcash didn't immediately die. If Bcash had immediately died, there would have been a chance to try again. If Bcash would have been a total success, which I don't believe that it is, then there is no need for the 2x hard fork. And with Bcash kind of lingering around, it became a very complicated situation. Now, I think that these miners do want an out, and it looks like they got their quasi out by saying that, well, there already is a second chain, and since not a single core developer managed to come on board, the next hard fork will also be controversial. But I think what's going to completely annihilate any thoughts of 2x is how many nodes are upgrading to 0.15. Now, I would love to upgrade my node to 0.15, but my node is in New York, and I'm here in Europe. So I will be upgrading my node the moment I arrive back home, which is probably in about 3 weeks. But as more and more people start to upgrade to Bitcoin Core Client 0.15, it's like saying no to the 2x hard fork. So as those numbers tick up, the way they ticked up for the user-activated soft fork nodes, and this is a lot easier. I mean, we saw all of this support for the user-activated soft fork, and that was a lot trickier to put in place on your node, because that wasn't a sanctioned client or a sanctioned verb use of the client from all the core developers, but 0.15 is. So as people download it, it'll completely squash all expectations of a 2x hard fork.
All right, moving on to the exit question. Also at the Breaking Bitcoin conference, Christopher Jeffries, aka JJ, revealed the core bleed exploit, which by overloading the RAM allowed him to crash the Bitcoin node. This set off a major uproar at the conference, as JJ had promised not to reveal the exploit, as the fix had not yet been deployed. Jeffrey Jones, should exploits be kept secret or made public?
So I'll comment on that first, Thomas, but then you didn't call on me for the 2x. So I'm going to comment on that after this. So for the reveal, again, you know, a lot of good stuff was said by Jimmy, but in my opinion, there is just no right way to do things, right? You can only do things to the best of your ability. So revealing it to the people, revealing to some people first, right? Some actual insiders, some people who work on the protocol that could maybe actually create a fix and things like that. That's what you got to do, right? You have to reveal it to the people who can fix it. And after that, it's in anybody's, you know, it's anybody's game. It depends. If there's a fix that can be fixed quickly, sure, announce it. If the fix is going to take months and months, well, probably keep it secret, right? It's all relative to what the actual damage is from the problem. So in my opinion, JJ did a decent job, you know, as decent as you can do. Obviously people like Peter Todd don't agree with that, but you know, in the future, we can learn from this. This is just another learning experience. This is all new. It's early days. So this was, in my opinion, a great learning experience. And I very much thank the people like JJ who are keeping on top of the protocol development to make sure that things like this don't get revealed too easily, that to make sure that hacks don't come out and just destroy the blockchain itself. So thank you very much, core developers, and thank you, JJ. Now, real quick, I did want to comment on the previous topic, which was the 2x. So really, I had an interview on my show with a couple of Chinese miners. I encourage everybody to check that out a couple of weeks back. And from what they revealed, it seems to me that most of the miners out there in China really don't care too much about the protocol development. They don't really care too much about the actual ideologies behind Bitcoin and these types of coins. They really mostly care about profit. They're hardware people, right? So they really mostly care about getting all the hardware right and mining what they think and feel will be profitable for them. So we saw what happened with Bcash, and yes, I'm going to call it Bcash and not Bitcoin Cash, but what we saw what happened with Bcash, where the miners went back and forth, right? They went back and forth to whatever is more profitable. Now, that's no longer the case because, you know, Bitcoin Cash has mostly been debunked as just another altcoin at this point. It has been revealed by many smart people in the actual community that it's just not doing very good, right? Like they can't produce big blocks. They can't produce, Bitcoin is outperforming them like crazy. So it's just not even a comparison. But people do at the end of the day want their free money. So my opinion, I think that the 2x fork is still going to happen, but it'll be almost a complete non-event for the actual Bitcoin blockchain itself. Just like Bcash, when it came out, it really, for the most part, didn't affect Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin kept on going, kept getting a new block every 10 minutes. Maybe it took a little bit longer, but we still kept getting those blocks. Everything still kept moving and churning. It was almost a non-event. And I definitely believe that since the release of 0.15 from Core, to completely ignore these 2x nodes, that it will be another non-event. Sure, maybe we'll get a fork, maybe we'll get some more free money, but it's not going to affect Bitcoin. Bitcoin's just going to keep right on going, and there's really nothing at this point that can really even stop Bitcoin. So that's my opinion. I think that we'll just keep right on going, just like ours.
Theo Goodman.
JJ. About JJ, you know, of course, you should do these kind of things to have the lowest risk for everyone as possible. I mean, come on. And don't use, I don't want to say that I know exactly what happened and all the backstory. I don't, but I don't think it's, if it was the case to use this as political leverage for something, I definitely disagree with that. If it was somehow kind of a mistake or miscommunication, then fix that. You could communicate better. But if it really was being used as some kind of leverage, I don't think that that's horrible. And I think that you know, that it could, you don't even know. The thing is, when you do something like that, you don't know exactly the effects. You don't know what kind of Pandora's box you could have opened by doing that. So that's not I don't think it should be done that way. And things like that should not be used for leverage.
And Theo's right with the Pandora's box analogy. It wasn't just that 3 out of the 4 Bitcoin node versions hadn't had their release released. It was also that this could affect many altcoins, and there could be other collateral damage as this exploit could be applied in other ways. Tone Vase, your thoughts on JJ's exploit?
Yeah, I'm going to take Peter Todd's side here. I really did not like the way that whole thing went down. If you actually like the Bitcoin protocol and you discovered this kind of vulnerability, and you can't fix it, right? You can either discover the vulnerability, start working on a solution, create a solution, then you can bring both vulnerability and at least a partially working solution, and then you will get most, if not all, the credit for both discovering it and solving it. If you are incapable of doing a solution, but you were able to find the problem, you bring the solution to the developers that can't solve it, and I'm pretty sure you would also get the credit for finding the problem. And but doing it that way, I'm not happy with it at all. Like now, the other side of it is when something like the CIA or the NSA find vulnerabilities in our internet. I mean, they don't present the solutions to like Google or Microsoft. They go ahead and exploit them, right? So this is the kind of realm you're going into. And when you do something like this, like what is there to gain other than, you know, trying to prove that you're smarter than other people, maybe, but you didn't bring the solution with it. Like for one more example on this, the way you do these things right is what happened during Antbleed. When Antbleed was discovered, it was not immediately released because, and some people were very upset about like, oh, how come you didn't bring it to the world to see? Well, no, the people that found Antbleed wanted to come up with the solution. So people running those ant miners would immediately have a way to remove that from being a vulnerability. So you don't even, and we didn't even like Bitmain, but people that found that Antbleed bug or feature, they wanted to immediately present a solution, and that's how it's supposed to be done.
Excellent points, Tone. And we're moving on to issue 4. The World Crypto Network Goes Global. As you can see from our new logo, graciously designed by Bitcoin artist Crypto Graffiti, the World Crypto Network, aka the WCN, has truly gone global. With Thomas Hunt and Jimmy Song broadcasting live from Paris in front of the Eiffel Tower, Tone Vase broadcasting live from Zurich, and Theo Goodman joining us in Germany. We're now live at the Blockchain Hotel in Essen, Germany. Also this week on the Today in Bitcoin show, thanks to my friends Ellie and Maria, we had 4 languages, including French, Russian, Arabic, and English. Tone Vase, what is next for the World Crypto Network?
Yeah, no, this has been a lot of fun. Zurich is a really good spot. Jimmy mentioned it earlier. I know he had to go. I did a meetup in Zurich. It was the biggest meetup they ever had, and Andreas Antonopoulos had spoken there twice. So I now hold the record for having the biggest crowd in Zurich for a meetup. There was over 400 people that showed up, and then the following day there was a crypto-focused event. Zurich is very popular for crypto. A lot of the companies are going to one of the cities in order to incorporate. So Zurich is great. Now we're in Germany. I'm gonna go to 2 more cities in Germany. Munich is one of them, and there'll be one more. I can pronounce some of these German names. And after that, well, we have Italy and Prague, and I might be heading off to Ukraine. So we're gonna go around and then hopefully come back and tour Asia next time, or South America.
The world. Jeffrey Jones, we really put the world in World Crypto Network. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you guys going around the world like this has absolutely been amazing. It's been a treat for me. I hope it's been great for the audience, and I think that we are growing right along with the Bitcoin price, right? It really has been raising all ships, this tide of Bitcoin. And I see content creators in the space all over getting their viewers increased, getting their subscribers increased, getting their Twitter followers increased. And we are definitely right alongside with them going up. And so I really hope that the viewers are enjoying this, because we do have a lot more in store for the World Crypto Network, both this year and next year. You know, we got a lot of things in the works, and I'm really excited about it. I'm really excited to share some of the things eventually that we're doing. And I almost have no words. Like, I'm so excited. This is really amazing. I actually, like I mentioned earlier, I had some miners from China on my show a couple weeks back, and you know, I've had people from all over the world. I'm going to have a gentleman from Canada, you know, Francis, on my show on this Sunday, and we have Simon Dixon in China. And so it's been really great to see Bitcoin grow up, to see the World Crypto Network to grow up, to see more and more people around the world get experienced and exposed to Bitcoin. And the numbers that Tone is throwing out, you know, with all of these people at these conferences, just hundreds of people all around the world joining all of these Bitcoin conferences. I mean, it's absolutely amazing to see, and I really am having a great time. And man, I can tell you, next year is going to be even bigger. If you guys think this year was big, this is just the beginning. Next year is going to be huge.
Theo Goodman, your thoughts on us going truly global?
Well, you know, hey, I'm in Europe. We've always been global, so you know. And we did coverage from Hong Kong, and we did coverage from Simon Dixon's been on World Crypto Network a few times. Different on Vortex's show, I did an interview with them. It's been on there, so we've had different people for all the time. But yeah, this is great. Traveling around, you get to meet people in person and get away from internet trolling. Sometimes if you can meet people in person that might not agree with you, that's a really good thing to have a discussion in person. Exit question, where should World Crypto Network broadcast from next? Okay, so I have two. So in Europe, if we're gonna do Europe, then it should be Andorra or Liberland. And for the world, then I think maybe Vietnam, because that's kind of like a cool hot spot. And I think it's a real interesting area, and it's not China. Not that I'm against China, but we talk about China a lot. Yeah, I think maybe go to Asia, or India somewhere, maybe somewhere from India, Vietnam. Those are real interesting.
I'm pretty sure I've done the Bitcoin group from Vietnam. I've been there. Yeah, I was there for one of their conferences. Right. I'm actually working, when I get home in October, I need to immediately file for a visa to Venezuela because I want to do a show from Venezuela in the beginning of the year. That's where the real Bitcoin action is going down. I will try to bring you a show in January from Caracas.
Yeah. So the guy from, just a quick not funny, interesting. The president of Liberland was here at the conference, and one of the co-hosts of the conference even said, "Mr. President," to him. I just had to have that aside. I just couldn't help it. I mean, hey, Liberland, do what you want. It was just a little ironic blockchain moment, let's say.
And I just want to say I've really been enjoying my trip. Everyone's been really great to me so far. Europeans are incredibly kind. They've allowed me to sleep on their couches and opened up the blockchain hotel to me. And it's really fun to meet people. I always come up and I say, "Hi, I'm Tom." And they say, "Oh, I know you're Tom." And it's really strange the way that so many people watch our videos, and we can never tell what's going on the other side of the screen. But we really are having an effect. And our goal is to educate people and to talk about Bitcoin and just get these ideas out there. We don't know where we're going next. Maybe Munich, maybe Berlin, maybe Amsterdam. But keep tuned to this network. We've been at a lot of great conventions recently. I just want to highlight some of them right here. We went to the Breaking Bitcoin convention in Paris, France. Right now, we're at the Blockchain Hotel in Essen, Germany. And very soon, we'll be at the Hackers Congress in Prague. It should be a great convention. We're very excited to do that. Jeffrey Jones, where should we broadcast from next?
Oh man, where? There's so many amazing places. So far you guys have been releasing awesome pictures. Thomas, your mad tour has been just going off without a hitch, it seems. I mean, you have so many awesome pictures that you've been tweeting. So where to go? I actually don't even know. I would really love to see some more shows from Europe. But man, that what Tone mentioned, Venezuela, that has definitely piqued my interest. As Tone said, that is where a lot of Bitcoin action is happening on the ground, saving people's lives right there. So that would be, I guess, my vote. Definitely Caracas in Venezuela. Looking forward to that, Tone.
You both are on your own. You can go to Caracas without me. I'll stick to the more developed countries. But I'd just like to thank everybody for watching. We had around 660 live viewers. We're going to move on now to the end of the show to predictions or story of the week. Jeffrey Jones, are you ready with a story of the week?
I should have done that already, but really my story of the week is just #MadTour, people. #MadTour. Everybody needs to follow Thomas and his adventures. So many cool pictures on the train, and even Eric Lombroso. All of these people who are over there in Europe tweeting all these pictures have been amazing and fantastic. The pictures from Paris, particularly, of all the architecture, it's been beautiful. So Thomas, just keep it up, man. I'm really enjoying it, and I think a lot of other people are enjoying it as well.
All right, Theo Goodman, story of the week.
story of the week is Americans' fascination with European architecture. No, I'm just joking. Actually, yeah, I'm not ready. I don't have a story of the week. Story of the week, of course, is China causing everyone to dump, everyone to panic, and then it's doing dip. I think the story of the week is the dip and rip on Friday of the price dumping and then pumping. And you saw it at the conference the whole morning. There was people, they come to me with the phone, they go, yeah, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? And they're like, did you see, are you happy today? I'm like, dude, I don't care. Just, you know, we're at the conference. I can't look at the price all the time. And then come back, hey, did you see this? Did you see this? So it's just been dip and rip. The story of the week is Friday, dip and rip.
Tone Bay's story of the week.
I'm going to go with a prediction. I'm going to say that all of the price action of the Chinese events has totally been priced in. The moment BTCChina tweeted out that they're going to shut down their operations by 9:30, the market immediately priced in the assumption that every exchange will be shut down by 9:30. The moment additional reports started coming out today that, well, it's not really 9:30, they're given till the end of October, and the Chinese government is being somewhat flexible because they understand that these exchanges are starting to get a little too big and they can't just completely go down, and by that time there'll be plenty of negotiations and some, you know, kickbacks in order to somewhat keep them operational, at least in some way, shape, or form. So my prediction is that the worst case scenarios have already been factored into the price. That doesn't mean that the price can't go lower, but the panic is already in. I do believe we have bottomed. As an opinion, and hopefully it's back to the upside from here.
I just want to echo what Jeff said. My story of the week is #MadTour and @MadBitcoins on Twitter. I had a great time touring Paris. I saw Napoleon's tomb. I saw the Monet's water lilies. I went to the Pantheon, and I just walked around Paris in general, which is beautiful. I don't know if I've never been there before, and it seemed like they had put statues on the edge of every building. And they were all, each statue was better than the last. I haven't seen much of Germany so far. I was at the Blockchain Hotel conference today. I'll be there again tomorrow, tweeting, showing pictures of people's slides, talking about what's going on. And then hopefully I'll get to see a little bit of Germany. I hear they have castles here. The forests look great already. And then on to maybe Amsterdam, maybe Prague, Budapest. A lot of great people have offered to host me. Thanks so much to everyone's kindness and hospitality and generosity. It's been a great world tour, and it's still going. And as always, we've got a donation code. If you want to send us a few bucks, go ahead and scan this Bitcoin code. Maybe you're in a good mood because the price came back from going down. And we had a great time bringing you this show. Hopefully the audio was good enough. We're using a crazy German Wi-Fi and just hoping for the best and trying to turn off the video and whatever else we can do to improve the quality and deliver a good show to you. And we'll be back tomorrow with the Today in Bitcoin show. We'll be back on Sunday with the Bitcoin news, with the Vortex right here. And until next time, bye-bye.
Bye, guys.